Good afternoon. I want to call to order the regular meeting of the Homelessness and Poverty Committee of the Los Angeles City Council. I am joined by council members Mike Bonin and Gil Cedillo. I am the chair of the committee today, Marquise Harris-Dawson, and I think we will be joined by Councilmember Karen Price at some point later. We have a few items to go over today, some to make amendments to our plan, to the plan that we passed a few weeks ago, and then another one dealing with encampment cleanup. Clerk, if you could begin by reading item 4 into the record.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item number 4 is a motion by Council Members Krikorian, Martinez, and Price relative to the feasibility of using the Solid Waste Resources Fund for homeless encampment cleanups to eliminate public safety hazards and clear city infrastructure of blight to enhance access in public spaces.
Thank you. We have some public comment cards on this matter. Eric Arez, Wayne, Ruth Sarnoff. Come on up. You have a minute to speak. And remember, on items, we have to stay on this. Your comments have to be germane to the subject.
I'll keep it extra germane. I would just recommend to the council members present and the committee members or the staff that before we start moving any new resources into this notion of homeless cleanups, that you all really should come out and see what's going on the block. There seems to be a disconnect between policy and implementation. There's, on the streets right now, maximum enforcement. We have 2 citation clinics, one in Councilmember Bonin's district, the other in Skid Row. We're seeing tickets that usually aren't given, warnings that are given for 418D actually given infractions. We're seeing where they have the option to give infractions instead of misdemeanors, officers actually giving misdemeanors. We're seeing non-arrestable offenses that usually aren't leading to arrest actually being leading to folks getting arrested. And it's coinciding with these cleanups. And what's happening is folks are getting picked up for these things and having their property destroyed. Tents are being destroyed. Now, they're going to say that they're keeping some property and it's able to be retrieved at the police station or at the storage house. That's just not happening. So before we move more resources to these cleanups, I really encourage you all to come and see what's going on before you start vouching for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on, Ms. Sarnoff, your time's going to go off. I don't want you to miss out.
Okay. I wanted to also address it from somewhat the same standpoint. I think that there's a lot of feeling of anxiety about the way encampments are approached, and I know that in the past, 5611 has been neither vetoed by the mayor nor signed by the mayor, so it's kind of that in-between kind of feeling, so you never know if you're homeless, what's going to happen in terms of being approached. And I think when you make a lot of the response numbers, and I may have gotten on a little bit to another subject on here,
just
but the LAPD and sheriffs might not be the best first responders.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wayne.
Yes. Now we got feasibility of using waste resources funds. Blah, 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 blah. It's about sweeping humans into the streets. You want them out of the sidewalks, into the streets, so they can be picked up by dumpsters. That's all it is. Homeless people being treated like trash. They're not trash. They're people. You made them homeless. You own it. You clean it up. You get them housing. You get them off the streets by giving them housing with the $17 billion of money you fucking stole going back to the CRA. You fucking thieves. Start using that money to house these people instead of criminalizing them, butchering them, and throwing them into the streets like garbage. Stop this shit.
Craig Roberts, General Dogon, Patricia McAllister.
Craig Roberts, LA CAN, Los Angeles Community Action Network. This attempt by LAPD to use the sanitation department and a supposed cleanup under the guise of health and safety is obviously just a continuation of the attack on the homeless, the continuation of the criminalization of the homeless, and to prosecute and persecute them with their smash and grab techniques, which have been accelerated lately on Skid Row. I witnessed it just today as they smashed and grabbed several people right off of the Nickel, right off of Fifth Street. The ability of people to live on the street because they have nowhere else to go is evident. They have to be there because they have no place to go, because they have no permanent supportive housing. If you want to do something positive, then get them permanent supportive housing. House keys, not handcuffs.
Thank you.
My name is General Dogon. I'm a civil rights organizer with LA CAN. I'm also a Skid Row resident. I've been monitoring the Safer Cities Initiative for since 2006, since it started. And just 3 months ago, you said that you was going to stop the criminalization of homelessness. It's not what's going on the block. Now, LAPD ain't got the email. You know, it's because they out there right now crashing bats and taking people's property. And y'all up here talking about you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Like they said, you need to get on the block and see what's going on. They're using watershed under the skies that the folks' property is unhealthy or something. But that ain't what's going on. On the videotape, we surely clears sees them coming in, running the whole block away, then a watershed and city services coming in and just sweeping whole people's stuff up in bags away and then running people off. That's what's going on. Then people get arrested. And you guys said you already wrote this letter to the Fed saying you're not going to be criminalizing people. But our cameras tell a different story, that the city of Los Angeles is still criminalizing homeless people.
Thank you. Dennis Gleason.
Yes, I think it's a good idea to clean up around the homeless areas where they live. Treat them just like you treat those Jews out there around La Brea and whatnot. Pick up their trash, and that's it. Don't touch their belongings, and don't throw anything away. That's not the cop's job. Okay, a lot of racism is going on Skid Row. I understand they're kidnapping black people and selling their body parts. We don't know what's going on, but treat them like human beings.
This is about the feasibility of using solid waste resources.
I'm talking about solid waste. Let me finish. We want to pick up their trash. I see them along the freeways and whatnot, and they have to throw the trash over the freeway because nobody's picking it up. Give them some days and put some trash cans over there and have their trash picked up just like the people. They're taxpayers. I don't see any illegal aliens out there. All I see are black and white people out there
stay on the
those
subject.
Tents. Who is that talking? Is that you, Cedilio? I'm going to get you out of office.
Your time is up. Mr. Dennis Gleason.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and honorable members. Dennis Gleason from the Office of Councilmember Joe Buscaino. First of all, I'd like to thank you for scheduling this item, and I'd like to speak in strong support of the item. I've had numerous people, both inside and outside the city, come up to me and ask why the trash fee is $36 a month and suggest that that is more than it actually costs to provide the service. Now, I defended this and I said, nope, that's just what it costs to provide the service. But upon closer inspection on the city's budget, I found out that there's actually a surplus. If you look at a second to last line item, there is a item that says rate stabilization reserve in the amount of $33,334,709. I have, for your reference, several copies of this page of the adopted budget for you to take a look at. And also I'd like to reference a page from a CAO report that basically says that this fund can be used for the purposes of cleanups adjacent to ratepayer properties. And I'll hand this to the sergeant for your review. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That concludes public comment. We have been joined by Council Members Price and Weezar. I want to extend, before we go on, I want to extend a special thanks to my former co-chair and now Vice Chair, Council Member Weezar. This is our first meeting as chairperson, so we want to thank you for all the work you did to help get me ready for this role and to carry the work of this committee to this point. So thank you so much. We want to approve this item on a consent, but I have a comment from Mr. Bonin.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I'd actually like to amend the recommendation of the motion slightly. As we all know, last year the CAO's office put out an analysis indicating that we were spending $87 million on homelessness, and many of us hoped that some of that money could be diverted into more direct services. So what I'd like to do here is to help make that happen. And so I'd like to amend as follows. It currently says, I therefore move that the council instruct the CAO to report back on the feasibility of, and then it's just one thing. I'd like to make it two things. Report back on the feasibility of one, which is exactly as the motion is listed. And then two is report back on the feasibility of earmarking or using the general fund savings generated by using the SWRF for these purposes for homeless services or implementation of the city's homelessness strategic plan.
Mr. Cedillo?
Yes, and I'd like to add to that if there is with the CAO, and this is part of the plan, I assume part of the safe parking aspects of it, but I want to ask if if either the fund and the service charge, if there's any prohibition for the utilization of these funds to be used to eliminate public health hazards for people living in vehicles so that they can dispose their waste at sanitation yards and other city-sponsored disposal sites. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Cedillo, Mr. Weezar? All right. Hearing no objection. Mr. Clerk, can you read back what we have before us?
Yeah, what we have before us, Mr. Chair, is item number 4. It's a motion by Council Members Krikorian, Martinez, and Price relative to the feasibility of using the Solid Waste Resources Fund for homeless encampment cleanups to eliminate public safety hazards and clear city infrastructure of light to enhance access in public spaces.
Excellent. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. I'm sorry.
Is that as he read it or as Mr. Cedillo and I have amended it?
With the amendments.
With the amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Approved as amended.
All right, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
So there isn't any objection. That'll be the order. Item number 2.
Item number 2 is a motion by Council Members Wesson, Harris, Dawson, and Weezar relative to working with the Los Angeles Unified School District to identify and provide proper services to homeless students in the city and to include LAUSD as a partner in the city's comprehensive homeless strategy.
Excellent. Thank you. And so this is an instruction for consolidation of Council File 15-1138-S5 into Council File 15-1138-S1. So this makes it a part of the city's overall homelessness plan. We've got a few speaker cards on this. I've got Ruth Sarnoff, Wayne, Olivia Mitchell, Nancy Gutierrez, Michelle Costello Alfarez, Patricia McAllister, Yvonne Autry, and someone referring to themselves as HP Council. 1 minute. Let's go, Ms. Sarnoff.
Ruth Sarnoff. I want to speak about the need to involve parents from the Title I and Title III programs of LA Unified, as well as perhaps some of the teachers in the solution of some of the things that are referenced in this particular effort. I am a little bit concerned that we don't have any kind of either financial report. We have no community impact statement or anything. So I think that reinforces what I'm saying, that there is a need to bring more people into it, including the people that live in the downtown area, and get some communication between homeless and other people around in the central city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, in the order. Wayne is next. After Wayne is Commissioner Olivia Mitchell. After her is Nancy Gutierrez. Come on. Let's do it, Mr. Wayne.
Okay, sorry, Marchese. You have to go to the kids in the LAUSD, little children, helping them not become homeless. The first thing you have to teach kids so they don't become homeless is how to do the 3 R's: writing, reading, and ripping off. Those are the 3 things you have to do so you don't become homeless. Reading and writing and learning how to steal, known as the 3rd R, rip off. Because that's how you become a city councilman and become rich, by going to LAUSD schools. Because LAUSD schools don't teach a fucking thing that's worth anything, except those 3 R's.
Got to stay on the subject.
So go to school, become a Marchese.
Good afternoon. I'm Olivia Mitchell, and here representing the Housing and Community Investment Department. I'm in the section that oversees our family source centers, and I was asked to come by the general manager to make certain that the committee is aware that we are working indirectly on the issues of young people and preventing their homelessness and et cetera. We have a partnership with the LAUSD, placing PSA counselors at our sites and at our work source sites, our youth source sites. Robert Sines is here who can speak to that. But I did want to introduce and give them their full minute. We have someone who coordinates the PSAs with us at the Family Source Center and has a method for identifying homeless young people. And then I've invited the young woman who heads the school district's homeless youth program. I wasn't certain whether or not the committee was aware that the district has been doing this a number of years, and at some other point you may want to invite her to come back and make a full presentation, but I just wanted to introduce them today.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Costello Alfarez. I'm with LA Unified School District. I am the coordinator over the Family Source Partnership Program. As Ms. Mitchell just stated, we do have PSA counselors throughout the Family Source centers throughout the entire city and school district, and we serve students and families who come through the Family Source centers, and we identify and work with PSA counselors in the homeless education program to identify students who are homeless. But without further ado, I do want to introduce my colleague, Nancy Gutierrez, who is the coordinator over the Family Source, the homeless education program, who can speak more about the services that they provide.
Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Gutierrez. I'm the coordinator of the Pupil Services Homeless Education Program with LAUSD. We have counselors that serve district-wide in each regional local district that help support schools and also families and students district-wide to identify homeless students. So if you have any further questions regarding our program, you're welcome to reach out to us. We work closely with other programs and other city and community agencies, including LASA, to make sure that we can identify our students district-wide and provide direct services to remove barriers to their educational success.
Thank you all so much for coming. So there were 3 cards there, and they finished in about 2.5 minutes, so we appreciate them and the usefulness of their comments. I have Patricia McAllister, Yvonne Autry, and HB Council.
As a math substitute teacher for LAUSD for 7 years, I'm against this. I have seen pedophiles in these schools, and I just think that the city, you got parents that are homeless on Skid Row, and you're not trying to help them. How are you now so concerned about the children? Their children are living down there with them. I think this is some kind of scheme to get these kids under child protective services. That's what I think. because you guys don't care anything about homeless people. Now you want to get a hold of those children. I have seen assistants to presidents, to the school principal, come into my class and homosexual put his phone number on the board for the boys.
Got to stay on the subject.
Okay, so I'm against this. I think this is a way to get these homeless, helpless children into Child Protective Services where these pedophile homosexuals live.
Stay on the subject.
And I don't agree with it. Leave these children alone. You don't help their parents. Now you're going to tell me you care about them? There's something in this. There's some money in there or some kind of pedophile trying to get a hold of these children. That's you, Dawson, that's talking. I thought that was a deal. You know I'm working on you. You Uncle Tom Negroes.
All right, that concludes public comment on item. Oh, you're HP? You had another name in my earlier committee.
Yes, homeless and poverty. That's who I am. I'm homeless and poor, like 99% of the people in this country. Really, nobody really has a home because City Hall keeps creating all these fantastic projects that do not work. So we wind up, I used to be a teacher at the district, by the way, and I did see a lot of the poverty that went on with the children. Some of them didn't even have any food in their houses. So I don't know if you guys are actually doing anything other than having meeting after meeting after meeting. And the money gets spent and nobody gets relief. So cut out your bullshit, okay?
All right, Ms. Autry.
Had closed it. I submitted my card yesterday. They wouldn't let me speak at the police commissioners. You know what you're doing. This woman is right. You're labeling and stigmatizing young men and women to be used and serviced as sex slaves for pedophiles.
Stay on the subject.
This is the subject.
The subject's about the school district.
That these are young students who are labeled as homeless within the Los Angeles Unified School District, and I object to that because they will be negatively stereotyped for the rest of their lives. I have been stereotyped as a single black woman. Homeless was as tantamount to being seductress, temptress, prostitute for use, servicing, in and out. Okay, and you know what this is. This is why you try to prevent me from speaking. And this is the New World Order. I object to that stigma, especially for black women or any woman. Just because she is within the system homeless does not make her a prostitute, a seductress, a home wrecker who should be in and out service with a password, given shots, shocked, okay, sprayed and gassed for your use and your servicing.
All right. Is there any discussion on this matter? Hearing none, without objection, that'll be the order. Item number 3.
Mr. Chair, just for clarification, for item number 2, we are approving the motion, and in as much as the comprehensive homeless strategy includes the strategy 5F, it's already, the intent is already built into that, and the instruction for the clerk to consolidate Council File 15-1138-S5 into 15-1138-S1.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So we have a similar procedure with item number 3.
Yeah, okay, sir. Let me read the item first. Item number 3 is a motion by Council Members Wisar and Harris Dawson relative to the establishment of a guiding principle that services, facilities, and housing be provided throughout the city and the county, and to formally reverse the policy of containment that has led to overconcentration of homeless services in certain parts of the city and the county.
Excellent. Thank you. We have public comment on item 3. We have Ruth Sarnoff, Tom Grody, and Ruth, you submitted 2 cards on item 3, but we're only going to let you speak once. I'm sorry. And then we have Wayne.
Ruth Sarnoff. I think it is incredibly important right now that we do things that and pass policies that build trust, because there's a great deal of distrust among the homeless, particularly downtown, where the presence of sheriffs and LAPD has been very there. They're just there, and people just need to have some assurance that when you're talking about decentralizing something, you're also going to look to the social relationships between, because many people have been for years on Skid Row, and there is a community there, and it is established, and it needs to be respected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tom Grody, and I'm a resident of Skid Row. When I saw this motion online a couple days ago as part of today's agenda, I was startled. Process can be more important than substance. Where was the community outreach into Skid Row as part of developing this motion? The policy of containment is not a strategic concept. It is government policy. There is no Venice policy of containment. There is no Hollywood policy of containment. There is a Skid Row policy of containment, and it was adopted by the Los Angeles City Council in the 1970s. If you believe it's time for new government policy in Skid Row, then hold public meetings, appoint a special commission, do the things you know you are supposed to do. Do the things that created the policy of containment in the first place.
Thank you.
Just so you know, Marquise, another lady got a card. Anyway, oh, more bullshit. Now you're going to have containment? Is this a war? Well, what is this? The Russians have invaded L.A. We're going to contain them? Is that what it is? House them, not contain. Contain is a military term. So are you committing a war against homelessness? Yes. And thank you for putting that word in there, because that's what you're doing. You're shuffling these people around, keeping them out of the rich white areas. What you need to do is call Uber and give them a taxi lift over to Beverly Hills and West Hollywood and put them down there. Then let them fucking start calling you. Now you'll take them back for $1 million apiece. That's how you settle war and settle war negotiations.
Thank you. I have Ruth Schwartz, Eric Arez, and Aaron Jimenez.
Hi, Ruth Schwartz, Shelter Partnership. Couple things on this policy. I think when we talk about containment, many of the services are on Skid Row, and we're gonna need some ancillary services there to serve that population, whether it's sober living centers or other kinds of crisis programs, because in fact that is where the population is, just like you're going to need similar services in Venice and Hollywood. So I just think to be realistic about what containment means. And then the other thing is, I do agree that we've got to allow for services, and that started to happen in other parts of the county, of the city. And I just want to recollect back to some work that we did with Gil Cedillo when he was senator, which had to do with regional impact. And I think that should also be explored, whatever pressure you can put on the other 87 cities to do their fair share on this problem. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon again, Eric Arez. I come in non-gadfly piece. Shouts to Councilmember Harris-Dawson for pronouncing my name correctly. First Councilmember to do that. I think that I'm going to not be as laser focused, but as it pertains to decentralizing, I think that the elephant in the room is that after the comprehensive strategy was passed, it's really a matter of resources, right? And the worst case scenario is that if we adopt a guiding principle to decentralize without the back end of the Budget and Finance Committee, most of which you aren't on this committee, putting money to make that comprehensive plan a reality, really it can create a lot of tension. We're seeing a lot of areas that aren't associated with being homelessness, Councilmember Gascaino's, other districts now, starting to raise a lot of red flags and create a lot of noise around the homelessness crisis, a crisis that has existed in Skid Row for a long time. And so I think the main thing here is whether it's decentralized or centralized. I think the fact of the matter is we just need resources. We need to make that, fill up those coffers. We need to make that comprehensive strategy reality. I know you all agree with it, and we want to work with you to get the Budget and Finance Committee to agree with it as well.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Jimenez with the Central City Association. We would like to thank the mayor and the council for their recent efforts to address homelessness. We would also like to thank Councilmembers Huizar and Harris-Dawson for their motion to establish a guiding principle that services and housing for homeless individuals be provided throughout the city. Homelessness isn't exclusive to one community, so by regionalizing and expanding resources throughout the city, a significant larger amount of individuals will be able to receive the resources that they need. We would also like to encourage the city to move forward with opening storage facilities throughout the city. We recognize there is a real need for more services and housing of all types, and CCA is committed to partnering with the city, and we thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. Juan Acala.
Yes, containment. You already have containment. You got more homeless people in jail than any country in the world. This great country has more people in jail than any country in the world, and most of them are because they're homeless, and that's your idea of housing. You keep them well fed, you give them peanut butter sandwiches and bologna sandwiches. I've been in jail 20 times for nothing. So you criminalize everybody, put them in jail. Now you don't have to worry about housing. How clever you are, but how stupid you are, because that's not really housing. You call them inmates, like they live in there. Change the real estate system and cut out your bullshit.
Patricia McAllister.
I don't agree with you. I don't think this is containment. I think this is a plan to get black folks on the street. Now, we got these shelters now in business to make money. This is a profit situation. All these Jews owning the Wine Garden, Union Rescue Mission, they're in the business of keeping homeless, okay? Don't tell me about any containment. We got 90% of black people and their children on Skid Row. And it's not because of containment, it's because of these white supremacist racists, and it's because they are making profits. If we got all the homeless people off Skid Row, where are these Jews going to get the money from? Okay, so don't tell me about what's going on. And this is very vague, policy of containment that has led to overconcentration. The overconcentration is in the black community and on Skid Row. We need to bomb Skid Row. Get all the people out of there and bomb it. And put some housing in there for black people. And I want to tell all you racists, blacks are going to overcome this. You're not going to win.
Miss Autry, and as Miss Autry comes forward, I'd ask the city attorney to give us some guidance on remaining on the subject and avoiding hate speech as much as we legally can.
I don't appreciate you making that disclaimer and that comment prior to my comments, because that is considered discriminatory, and I don't appreciate that stigma at all. We all speak relative, and we all address these items, and we also bring our own experiences to this testimonial, and this is our right. So I'm putting that on the record, Mr. Harris, because that is discrimination. What I'd like to say is in the labeling and in the stigmatizing of our people, again, which is what I said earlier, I want my 40 acres and a mule and reparations, not in the form of homelessness on Skid Row and San Julian, where the city can and will continue to commission your mercenary police officers to rape and kill me, and then justify it as saying that this is another black female who was crazy, on crack, or a prostitute. And this is what you were doing. The containment is the same thing that the Jewish people experienced prior to the extermination. The Jews, Zionist Jews, white people, police officers, house Negroes. I didn't say house nigga, which is more or less what you are. Okay, they use these people, but they have to keep them as a reservoir for DNA experimentation, food for the cannibals, sex slaves.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, Can you let us know what's before us with the specific instruction that has to be read into the record?
Yes, sir. What's before us is item number 3. It's a motion by Council Members Huizar and Harris Dawson relative to the establishment of guiding principle that services, facilities, and housing be provided throughout the city and the county, and to formally reverse the policy of containment that has led to overconcentration of homeless services in certain parts of the city and the county. And the action is to approve the motion in as much as the comprehensive homeless strategy includes the 14 guiding principles with the instruction for the clerk with the assistance of the CLA to consolidate Council File 160046 into Council File 15-1138-S1.
Excellent, thank you. We have some discussion. We'll go with Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for agendizing this today. This motion was put forth prior to us adopting our strategic plan. In our strategic plan, we actually adopted guiding principles, one of which was to move forward with a decentralization plan on providing services for homeless individuals. And so this motion is to, hopefully we could adopt it and consolidate it with the strategic plan. And yes, there was an official containment policy in the past for Skid Row where all services and homeless individuals would be taken to receive those services. But as we now see, that policy is not working. In fact, 85% of our homeless population lives outside of Skid Row. And so these individuals need those services in the areas they are in. Studies have shown that when people fall out of luck or fall into homelessness, they are better able to get back on their feet if they are in an area they're familiar with and the support network that could help them get back on their feet. And if we continue on the path we are now, simply taking them to areas like Skid Row, they will spiral down with additional vices and not have that support network around them. So hopefully, as we begin to put more resources in addressing the homeless situation, those resources such as housing, such as storage, such as services would be put out throughout the city and better be able to address the needs of individuals. When we put this this motion in, I was asked by the media, what about NIMBYism? In the past, there's been quite a bit of NIMBYism with respect to putting these types of services throughout the city. And my response was that I get the feeling and the sense by my colleagues on council and others that given the fact that homelessness is throughout the city, there's a bit more acceptance for us to provide these services in the neighborhoods where homeless individuals arise from. So hopefully we're moving in a direction that's going to be better suited for homeless individuals with respect to us decentralizing our services. So thank you for your support in the strategic plan and adopting a new path.
Thank you, Mr. Huizar. Mr. Cedillo?
Yes, adding on to that, I'd like the CAO to look at the, I think it was SB2 that Ruth Schwartz mentioned that we worked on to proliferate the homelessness and break up the concentration of homelessness in downtown Los Angeles, to look at the status of SB2, what's happened with it. Are cities complying? If they're not complying, why not? If cities are not complying, what consequences are they encountering for non-compliance with SB2? I'm interested on this policy, and what were the documents that established this policy? When did this happen? How did this happen, so that we could look at how we can undo this policy? If 15% of the homeless live in downtown, what's the percent of services they have? What this poses for us is a question of portability of services. If 85% of the homeless live outside of Skid Row, then where are their services? And is this an opportunity for us to design some type of portability of services, some type of menu of services that would be attached to the homeless that would then be more suited for the communities that they live? If, in fact, 15% of the homeless live downtown, what is the percentage of services that are in the downtown area?
Thank you. Is any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, if you can refresh us on what we're considering, including Mr. Cedillo's addition.
Just for clarification, Mr. Chair, item 3 is we're approving. Is it the intent of the committee to approve the motion with the additional instruction for the clerk to consolidate Council File 160046 to 15-1138-S1, plus the additional instruction from Council Member Cedillo for the CEO to look at the status of SB2. Is that the intent of the committee?
The documents that set the policy, the rationale, reasoning, and then as the basis for doing it, and then it's important for us to get the information. If 15% of the service of the population is downtown, what percentage of services are there? Right, so that the services are proportionate and relative to the homeless where they are and to each homeless individual.
Got it, sir.
Thank you.
Excellent. Hearing no objections, that will be the order. That brings us to item 1.
Yes, sir. Item number 1 is a motion by Council Members Rue and Wizar relative to reviewing the available call options, such as general numbers like 211, 311, and 877 Ask LAPD, and specific numbers like the Department of Mental Health's crisis line 800-854-7771 and the Did You Hear Suicide Prevention Hotline 877-727-4747 to report on the effectiveness of these services and recommend which numbers to call in which circumstances. On December 1st, 2015, the Trade, Commerce, and Technology Committee approved this item.
Excellent. Thank you. We have leadership from ITA and LASA. Ted Ross and Grace Weltman. Will invite them to give us a short presentation on this item. There she is.
Good afternoon. Ted Ross, General Manager with the Information Technology Agency. I'm also joined by our 311 Director, Donna Arachia. I think for many reasons, homelessness has become one of the main challenges of our time. Both as an Angelino and a city manager, I appreciate the leadership of our council members and the mayor to really improve a difficult and sensitive topic. The Information Technology Agency, while we're technologists and we're the IT folks, stands with our elected officials, with LASA, and with nonprofits to assist wherever we can. I think one clear area, as mentioned in the council motion, is the city's 311 call center, which we run through the Information Technology Agency. It's the area in which we receive city information requests and city service requests. Upon receipt of this motion, the ITA has worked with various agencies to improve call center coordination, 311 resources, and responsiveness. First, the ITA has implemented submission of homeless encampments based on request as a service request option in our MyLA 311 mobile app as well as our 311 websites. Secondly, the ITA has updated the knowledge base in our city services directory. And what the knowledge base is whether you go online through the portal or through the mobile app and you do a search, whether it's by category or by keyword, when it relates to, let's say, homelessness or homeless services or homeless encampments or whatever the term may be, it provides detailed information regarding some of the services and the offerings available. It's the very same city services directory that's used by our 311 call center operators, and we make it widely available to the public. We're working with LASA and 211 to verify the information to ensure that it's good information being provided. Third, our 311 call center director, who I have with me, is actually assigned as our liaison to the new homeless strategy committee. So we're very much committed to trying to improve the situation wherever we can. I stand open for any questions or to provide any data in regards to the service requests we've been receiving.
Good
I think
afternoon.
we'll hold our questions till you all are both done.
Sounds good.
Members of the council. So in this item, we completely support the council's request to put this together. And what we're working on, as we have seen, not only the fact that we're now all working together to address homelessness, a lot of questions around coordination, who to call, which person do I call, and at what time. Those are all pieces of information or requests that we receive regularly. So we support what ITA is doing. We are also working on providing better resources to the community so that they know who to call and when, and so we want to coordinate these efforts. So for instance, we've been talking to first responders, and what we're finding is that perhaps their point of contact may be slightly different from someone who's looking for services, and we would map them out to 211, or we get them connected to the coordinated entry system. So this is the kind of work we're trying to incorporate and integrate with what ITA is doing, but I think this is a step in the right direction. We also realize that one of the feedback that we get regularly from the community and people who are looking for services, people aren't open 24 hours. What do we do in that situation? What is our protocol so that when someone calls, we have the ability to respond and let them know what might happen. And again, dealing with first responders, I know that in a prior meeting we talked about, well, can outreach teams be available 24 hours? We're exploring, different hours perhaps, so that we can also be responsive to the need that's out there.
So thank you. Questions, members? Mr. Price?
For the presentation, I'm just curious. So, can you give us some ideas on what the level of calls are to 211, 311, Ask LAPD? Are they about the same, or is there what kind of call traffic do you get on these lines?
I can say that the first time that I was before the committee, we reported on data that was from August of 2015 to November of 2015. At that time, we were averaging about 34 referrals per month for the services, primarily to 211 and LASA, and a few requests for winter shelter. Since December 1st until now, the middle of February, we've actually doubled the amount of calls and referrals that we have made, with 975 to 211, 68 to LASA, and 46 for winter shelter. So that has increased, doubled.
Any reason for the uptick? I mean, was there any publicity or kind of focusing on one program or another, you think? Or
no
what do you...
publicity, but I actually believe that maybe the work of this committee and things beginning to roll within the city has caused an increase in inquiries.
That's kind of you to say.
That's right.
I'm not the representative for 211, but 211's call volume is much larger, quite a bit, I believe in the thousands, and they're not here to represent that, but we are getting a lot of referrals from different sources. We have seen an increase, even in our emergency response teams, getting calls into our offices requesting services. We do know that a lot of calls do come in the evening and in the weekends, and trying to address that. With our family system, we have a way to navigate that, and we're still, trying to make referrals into shelters and so forth when we hear that there's a need.
So these services are 24/7 or Monday through Friday, 8 to 9? Or what's the
211 is 24/7. Now, whether the services are available 24/7, that does not occur per se, but if a family, for instance, is homeless, then 211 walks through a process of referring and getting them connected or helping them get to the family system. And so usually the services, we do get them connected, and it's that weekend point to Monday where we have systems in place to get them into an appointment the following week, and so forth. And so that system, that family system, has been worked out quite a bit. But for our single adult population and our youth population, those are still systems that need more support in getting people connected and having protocols in place so that we can get them connected on a 24/7 basis.
Yeah, I think we need to. I mean, everyone is important, especially the youth. I think we need to really try to, meet their needs on a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon, and what do we do? What are they going to do? Especially if they're calling. Frequently the problem is they're not calling. They kind of know where the resources are. But for those who are concerned, for those who do call in, we should, be able to help.
Yeah, in some instances with families, we may voucher them for a weekend so that they can get into some services the following week or get them. But in our youth system and with our single adults, we still have to figure that out, and it is really a resource issue. But setting up the system and the protocols is something that we have been working on, and we do have some suggestions in terms of how to move that forward. But also, again, looking at what hours maybe outreach teams can be available. So one of the responsibilities that LASA has with the county strategies, and it's in the city strategies as well, but in the county, it's quite explicit about coordinating all the outreach efforts with the county and every entity that does outreach. And we've started these discussions last week, and how we're going to map that out, how we're going to work together as a system so that we could really maximize the teams that are out there and the resources that are available.
Pardon me, Mr. Price, do we have a representative from 211 in the room? Yes, no?
Yes, there's someone
okay.
there.
If you'd be so kind, maybe you can shed a little light on the conversation. If you could come to the table and tell us your name and rank and serial number and opinion about this matter.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Christopher Castillo, and I'm the housing coordinator for 201 LA County. I'm here representing my boss, Maribel Marin. She wasn't able to make it to this meeting, but with the LASA efforts, we've been able to help families out when they call. We assess the situation. Are they at risk? Are they currently homeless? And then we connect them to a family solution center.
Well, thank you. I think, Mr. Chairman, we certainly want to see better coordination, and I hope we'll get a report back at some point on the success of collaboration that's in progress now. Hopefully, it'll provide a safety net that folks will not be slipping through. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion or questions, Mr. Cedillo, Mr. Bonin? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk. Actually, I have cards on this, huh? I have to do cards on this? Thank you all. We're going to take public comment at this moment. We have Ruth Sarnoff, Ms. Autry, Mr. Akala, Mr. Spindler, Ms. McAllister.
Ruth Sarnoff. I wanted to suggest some other emergency numbers. It doesn't seem like 211 is, even with 100% improvement, is quite making it. I think we need a special number for reporting when people feel like they're discriminated against in housing, jobs, treatment by law enforcement, or any other thing. There should be a racism and discrimination hotline, and any racial, religious, lifestyle, whatever, should be understood. And I also think that we need a tent or some kind of medical facility that is medical and dental and responds to the immediate needs of people in Skid Row, because that would do more to establish trust.
Thank you.
More to establish trust than anything else this council could do right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Autry?
And I'd like to support what Ruth just said. We need real services, maybe even a community-based type of committee sponsored by LA Can. I would be in support of that rather than just another status quo type of response to justify exploiting these energy sources, which is what this is, a call for help, servicing, what that entails, passwords, shots in and out, hypnosis to make use of this vital energy which is available here in this human harvest in Skid Row, which is why you really need to stigmatize and stereotype these people, and is why you try to use your negative disclaimer to try to discredit my testimonial as a witness, as a leak, as exposing these government-sanctioned experiments on our people. I'm not delusional and I'm not bipolar, Mr. Dawson. And again, I don't appreciate your slander because that is what it is.
Thank you. Mr. Alcala.
Very strong emphasis on services, but where is the housing? If you house people, then you don't have to have these services for homeless people. You gotta end homelessness in a rational way. Put all these people at least in a cubby hole instead of taking away their tents and stuff. Find them a little hole in the wall. There's millions of holes in the wall in the city. Just find them a little place to be, and then bring the services right there to the buildings where they are. Why all this? We need services here. We need services there. We need housing. We don't need as many services when we have housing. Put people in a place.
Thank you.
Make sure the one number, anything with the police, delete it. 877 ask LAPD. Are you fucking kidding me? Really? You're going to call these people to come out? Hello, yes, I'm homeless. We'll be right over to beat you. I don't think so. We don't need the 877 ask LAPD on this list. We don't need 311. 211, that's the county. Now, they do a little bit more than most of these assholes do here. And what's this Diddy Hirsch suicide prevention hotline? Why? Because people are depressed if they're homeless? No shit. So we don't have people calling the LAPD under any circumstances, not with Charlie Beck, not with the police commission, the way they're doing things. There's only one thing about the police. Fuck the police!
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, can you one more time remind us what's in front of us?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. What's before us is the motion by Council Members Rue and Guisar relative to reviewing the available call options, such as the general numbers like 211, 311, and 877 Ask LAPD, and specific numbers like the Department of Mental Health's crisis line 800-854-7771 and the Diddy Hirsch Suicide Prevention Hotline 877-727-4747 to report on the effectiveness of these services and recommend which numbers to call in which circumstances.
Excellent, thank you. Without objection?
Mr. Chair, is it the intent of the committee to approve the motion and concur with the action taken by the trade?
The committee has such an intent.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. So without objection, that'll be the order. Excellent. What's before us?
General public comment, sir.
Excellent. General public comment. I have about 6 cards here. Eric Arez, Christopher Castillo, Ruth Sarnoff, Ms. Autry, Mr. Alcala, Mr. Spindler.
Good afternoon, council members. Just real briefly, I know we come here a lot as LA Can talking about the issues that are important to us in criminalization. I know we don't always see eye to eye on the solutions and the role that LAPD should play, but I really, really encourage all of you all, I invite all of you all to come with us. What's happening in the past couple weeks, and I mean this, honestly, what's going on in the streets is pretty egregious. The rain hasn't been hard yet, but after last week, there was an extreme sweeps going on in Skid Row. People being forced to put their tents down in the middle of the rain last Thursday. Various documentations. I'll cut it off. Don't worry, I won't go for 1 minute. And I just really think if you can come, your staffers, Ashley, Jose, Martin, I'm more than welcome to walk through and just really see. We won't even interfere. Just walk through the street cleanups and see what's going on. It's really putting you all at a liability, quite honestly, and it's inhumane, even for the things that we talk about. So I really encourage you to really see what's going on. It's not what you want. Even even we know we don't agree on, it's not what you're calling for, and I just think that it's a shame that the city is doing this in a fashion that's not consistent with what you are trying to work on. So really welcome you all to come work with us and see what's going on. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. So we at 201, we handle over 100,000 calls regarding housing and shelter, and we assess our callers to understand their situation and give them the best appropriate referral. As you know,
You do 100,000 calls over what period?
It's a year.
Jeez. Okay.
A year, yeah. I believe that data is for a year. And, you know, as certain programs have certain criteria that have to be met for, you know, funding. And unfortunately, there's more requests for housing and shelter than we have, you know, referrals. But starting next week, we'll be posting information on our website, www.201la.org, on specific information on shelter for people with mental health needs, drop-in centers, information for veterans, HIV families, youth, and that was pretty much it.
Thank you.
Ruth Sarnoff. I too believe that it would be helpful to all the city council people to, first of all, if more of the city council people would come to this committee so that they can observe what is coming from the community. It's raw sometimes, but it's real. And people are expressing things from their own point of view. I think it's really, really important that you do that, because I think you will see we have people with almost no teeth. We have elderly people with one leg. We have people in wheelchairs. We have people that belong in immediate housing. And so I urge you, we're going to face some heat this summer. We have to get some shade. There's no trees in Skid Row and downtown, and it's really a humanitarian crisis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We made it a human right for women to vote, a human right for blacks in the South to vote, and everywhere. We abolished slavery. Why can't we make housing a human right instead of using housing as a big ticket item, a trade, commerce? Why don't we just make it a human right? We can do that. All of us together can say nobody is to be without a home. And define housing in a better way than putting people in little cages where a landlord is exploiting them all the time. Make it a human right to have housing. That's what we need.
Thank you. Mr. Spindler?
Fuck the police coming straight from the underground. A young nigga got it bad 'cause I'm brown. I'm not the other color, so police think that they have the authority to kill a minority. Fuck that shit, 'cause I ain't the one for a punk motherfucker with a badge and a gun to be beaten on and thrown in jail. We can go toe-to-toe in the middle of a cell. Fuck with me, 'cause I'm a teenager with a little bit of gold and a pager. Searching my car, looking for the product. Think every nigga is selling narcotics. You'd rather see me in the pen than me and Lorenzo rolling in a benzo. Beat a police out of shape, and when I'm finished, bring the yellow tape to tape off the scene of the slaughter, to just getting swole off bread and water. I don't know if they're fags or what, so I got something to say. Fuck the police!
Thank you. I have a card from Miss McAllister. Seems that she might have given up on us. After that, Mr. Porter.
Good afternoon. First off, I want to say I've been working in Skid Row doing prevention for about 17 years, and There are numerous plans to address homelessness, and one thing that we really need is to support community-based prevention efforts that are grassroots. Skid Row is a community, and community-led efforts have addressed substance abuse, mental illness, and risk factors in the neighborhood for many years. So, and even as mentioned, the homeless education program with LAUSD was actually created because of kids in Skid Row about 10 years ago. So it's a long history of advocacy, and this is my first time here, and I hope to stay engaged. But when we talk about these issues, community members, as I mentioned, Skid Row is a community, are very involved and concerned about the health and wellness in their community. So that's my general comments. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you all so much. That concludes general public comment. If there is nothing else for the good of the order, then we are adjourned.